I'm George Curtis. Welcome to It's Your Environment. Each week it's my privilege to bring you guests that tell us something about the environment and this great area in which we live. We're often talking about water and about plants, about pollution and things that make a difference. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get my son, who lives in Alaska most of the time, and we talk about Alaska. Other times we get guests from other parts of the world who tell us what's happening there that makes a difference to us here. Today's guest is very special to me. I've known Frank Greenagel for about 48 years. We were debate partners at the University of Minnesota a long time ago. He went in all kinds of different directions, and he was successful at all of them. He became a lawyer, he got a PhD, he was in industry, he lived in Colorado and California, in the Netherlands and Canada. He wrote an encyclopedia that has still impacted that particular industry and the computer industry as well. One of his hobbies is photography. And one thing about Frank is he doesn't have anything you'd call a hobby. When he gets into something, he disintegrates it, and then when he puts it back together, he understands every molecule better than anybody else has ever understood. He takes it to another level, and that's certainly true in the case of his photography experience. I've seen some pictures. They're all over my house. I've seen pictures of Wisconsin and different places all over the world, but I think the last 4 or 5 years he's been largely going out west. I'll let him tell you about it. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thank you, George.
You have been going out west. Take it from here.
Probably for the last 20 years, I would get out there every second or third year for 2 to 4 weeks, concentrating in the Four Corners area where New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah meet, because you've got incredible terrain there. You've got a number of primitive areas that are set aside. No trails, no signs, no development. You got to check in with the ranger. I'm going into Snowshoe Canyon. When do you expect to be out? Well, probably 3 or 4 days. Okay, we'll send the search team in if you're not out in 6, something like that. And I would go in alone because the best light is real early in the morning or very late in the afternoon, and you can't get in and out in a day. So I had no interest really in backpacking or hiking, but if you want to take pictures of certain kinds of things, whether it's the natural bridges kind of stuff, although that's a national park, you can drive to those, but there are arches and bridges and Anasazi ruins and inscriptions, petroglyphs and so on, tucked way back in these canyons that are 2 or 3 day hike. So I got a backpack, I got good hiking boots, water purification equipment, sleeping bag, and tucked that along with a big heavy view camera and tripod on my back and hiked in for a few days just to take a single picture.
And I know part of it was the physical beauty, but knowing you, Frank, a lot of it was understanding and knowing even more deeply the culture and the history of the people who once peopled that area.
Very much. You see the structures and you wonder how they lived, and you have to do your research, and then you do a little more research and then you begin to kind of piece things together. Archaeologists do that for you, but you want to see and touch kind of and get your hands into the thing yourself, and you feel like they had to work very hard there to gather water, to get crops to grow. The early ones were hunter-gatherers, but by the time they were building these cliff dwellings, they were cultivating corn and squash and beans and so on. But it was a hard, very tough existence, compared to which backpacking a couple of days, opening a can of beans or something, it's pretty easy existence, even though it was tough. Part of the motivation, a large part of the motivation was certainly the photography, but part of the motivation also is I'm over 60 years old. If I don't do that now, I'm never going to be able to do it, okay? And so the idea of hiking alone into a canyon without a trail marked, I had good GPS, the good topo maps, and so on. I could still get lost. I found basically in some of these canyons, my navigational skills were not nearly what I thought they were. And I spent time looking, okay, did it come this way or that way? Must be this way, because get into a blind canyon and say, no, it had to be the other way. And you basically, I won't say get humbled, but there's a challenge there, and you're not on edge, you're not in any danger, really, because you're either going down the canyon or you're going up the canyon, okay? And it's the only way out. It's not going up, any other way. And so I'm always going to find my way out. It might be a little bedraggled, a little hungry or thirsty, but obviously I did get out.
And obviously you're one of the few people who would make that kind of effort to learn more and to document more for all of us as to what is there and what went on before us.
George, I think there's a lot of people who do that, but not that many perhaps who go to that level of exertion. There's one period a year ago when I was hiking alone where I went basically 20 days without seeing anybody.
Well, I often try to catch up with you, especially in the summer, because I have a friendship with your children, and your son Frankie and I've got a going offer for him to take a car to Alaska or bring one back, and he visits with us periodically and that sort of thing. And you have been virtually impossible to find for weeks at a time in the summer, and when you finally get back to me, you explain that's what you did all by yourself. But this summer was different. You didn't go by yourself, and you haven't really gotten the grin off your face since you and Greta got back. What's different this year?
Well, I went with an old friend. We've been playing tennis together for 35 years. Her husband died a year and a half ago, and about a year ago we kind of looked at each other and said, "Gee, this is, it's always been a very friendly, intellectually stimulating conversation or relationship, and now it's become something more." And so Greta comes to it with an artistic vision. I was there as with a photographic vision, and so we did the coast to coast from New Jersey to California, and now we're headed on our way back.
Well, this segment is out of time, and we're going to get Greta on next. If that experience has been half as good for Greta as it has been for Frank, it's been a wonderful experience.